Hello bookworms, welcome back to, if you are a returning bookworm or if you are a club member, welcome back to Book Hangover Club, and if you are new here, welcome to Book Hangover Club, where the only cure is another great book. In today's video, we are going to be getting into part 2 of the stepbrothers to lovers trope. So if that is a trope that you enjoy, grab a pen and a paper. Better yet, like and save this video to come back later for reference. If this is a trope that you love or like, or if you just trust my recommendations and you know what, you don't really even care for this trope, but because Rachel recommended it, you're kind of just like, okay, she has not steered me wrong yet. So let me see what it is that she's talking about. Let me see what she's recommending, if anything piques my interest. Like I said in part 1, this isn't necessarily my favorite trope, but it's one that I don't mind if it is done correctly. If you've watched all of my videos, or if this is the first video that you have seen, then you probably don't know this, but my favorite trope when it comes to romance is, detective romance or, partners to lovers. It doesn't necessarily have to be detective. It could be like a police romance or like a SWAT team romance. Maybe even a mix of like military, police, SWAT team tease or something like that, like a mix. I've read a couple series that are kind of like that. But yeah, I would say anything in the judicial system is definitely my vibe. That is my go-to. Second to that would be a best friends to lovers. I'm not sure what it is about that specific trope that I love, but I just do. With all that being said, sit back, relax, grab a snack. I've got me some kettle cooked potato chip. Not that I'll really be eating them while recording, because then you just be listening to me chew. And I don't know if that's anybody's pet peeve, but I hate hearing people chew so loudly. Like, that just makes my skin crawl. Anyway, let's get into part 2 of these stepbrothers to lovers book recommendations. Okay, I know you guys came here for book recommendations and you're probably tired of listening to me rant before I actually even get into the recommendations, but I just have to say right now, it's all dark and gloomy outside, and it is raining, and there's thunder, and there's lightning. This is my favorite type of weather, at least when I'm home. If I'm out and about, then I want it to be sunny and nice outside. But if I'm inside, then this is just like the perfect cozy weather to cuddle up with a really good book and a cup of coffee, or to rant to you guys about books that I've read that I really enjoy. So with that being said, the first book recommendation that I have for you guys is Finance Bros by August Jones. I would say this book was very surprising. I definitely went into it kind of just thinking that I wouldn't really enjoy the book as much as I did. And this is one of those books that I just kind of read because I was in a book drought. I didn't have anything good to read. Anything that just sounded remotely interesting, I just figured I'd read it. So I didn't really have high expectations going into this book, but it definitely left me surprised by the time that I finished the book. This was a really good read. I loved the characters, obviously. If I say a book is a good read, then I obviously loved either both or one of the characters. Usually it's both. I loved kind of like the second chance aspect of it. This book follows two stepbrothers who are, pretty much estranged, I would say. And they end up coming back together because they end up interning for the same company. And they're kind of grouped together. It's them and a couple other people versus another group, and they basically have to, whichever group raises the most money is the group that will be offered a permanent position at the company. So it's a little bit of a forced proximity as well. I just love the second chance aspect of this book. I loved how, one of the main characters wasn't so quick to let their guard down and kind of let their stepbrother back into their good graces. And I don't know, I just really felt like one of the main characters the entire book, like he was happy that, this thing, this person that he's wanted for so long finally wanted him back and finally felt the same way that he felt. Not only was he defensive throughout the entire book, because it's like, when I originally expressed my feelings to you, you kind of shot me down and just treated me horribly after that. And I could only imagine what that's like, especially when you're young and you've got stars in your eyes for this person and you finally express yourself, and not only do they shoot you down, but then they kind of continue to berate you and treat you horribly, and allow others to treat you horribly. He was happy to finally have the person that he's wanted all this time want him as well, but he was kind of just on the fence the entire book. And it was really funny, just like, I don't know, it was just kind of like, I'm enjoying this, I'm happy, I'm still on the fence. I'm not sure if you're gonna hurt me again. I'm enjoying the things that we're doing with each other, to each other, but I'm not gonna, emotionally and mentally, I'm not gonna jump all in, because I feel like this might blow up in my face. Or maybe you might have, I don't know, a come to Jesus moment and, be like, okay, I've tried this and it's actually not what I want. So I'm gonna go this way and you go that way. And now it's over, and essentially things have blown up in my face 2 times now. So I thought that aspect of it was really funny. I'm not really sure why. I think the dialogue between both of the characters is what kind of made it amusing. And I think the character that I expected to not like the most is the character that I ended up liking the most. This character just really surprised me. I don't know. I feel like they kind of got it in their head that, maybe I was wrong back then. And now that I'm around this person again, I'm starting to feel things for them that I've never felt before. And instead of sitting back and really thinking about it, and thinking about the magnitude of this thing messing around with my stepbrother, or coming to terms with the fact that I might not be as straight as I always thought I was, instead of sitting around thinking about those things, I'm just gonna go off vibes and feelings. I feel like I want this person, so I'm gonna go get them. And that's what it kind of was like. And I'm just like, you know what? Kudos to you, sir. You didn't really even think about it. You were just like, I want them and I'm gonna go get them. And that's exactly what he did. I'll deal with this. When it's too much for me to handle emotionally and mentally, I can't say there was anything in this book that I didn't like. I love the characters. I love the dialogue. I love the plot. I loved the basis of the story. And it kind of feels like a treat to kind of get a book that isn't a hockey romance, a sports romance, that isn't a detective romance, even though there's nothing wrong with detective romance novels. I love them. I love them. I mention it in every video. That is like my bread and butter. I love detective romance. The spice rating, I'd rate the spice in this book a 3 out of 3, and it just made it so much better that I loved both characters. One character was very, very eager, and another character was just as eager, but kind of just like still on the fence with his eagerness. Like, just did not know how to feel. And I don't know. That is still funny to me when I think about it. The overall rating for this book is a 5 out of 5. I highly recommend. This is the first book that I've read by this author, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm definitely gonna look into what other books that they have to offer and read some of those books as well. I feel like the pacing of the story made sense. Something else that I really loved is I felt like it was kind of cool to see time and space that we are currently in, social media kind of dominate our current reality in a sense. Everybody wants to be like an influencer. Everybody wants to be like a famous TikToker. Social media definitely rules our society at this current point in time. And I feel like this was kind of a play on that as well. Highly recommend this book. You guys should definitely check it out. The second book recommendation I have is Dirty Love by Bethany Winters. This book follows 2 stepbrothers who have been step siblings since they were 3 years old. They live in a small town, and of course, living in a small town means dealing with people who are also small-minded. They pretty much come from an abusive background. So there's definitely like this protectiveness aspect. There are also possessive aspects. If I can't have you, no one else can. I mean, still toxic, but not like in a dangerous way. If I can't have you, nobody else can. Not in that type of way. More so just like, I'm going to sabotage and insert myself because if I can't have you, nobody else can. Feeling is definitely mirrored in both characters. I would just say one character is probably more outright the possessiveness that they feel. If I had to rate it, well, I mean, obviously I do have to rate it. My rating for this book is a 3 out of 5, and I think I would have rated it like 3.5 out of 5 if they didn't buy into the thing that I hated in a stepbrother trope. I don't really care if you've been stepbrothers since you were like 3 years old, because at the end of the day, you're not actually related. Of course, it makes things much more complicated if buying into the whole stepbro thing or stepbrother thing or my baby brother, especially when you guys are engaging in sexual things, whatever that may be. And I don't know, that just made me really uncomfortable. That is why I'm rating this book a 3 out of 5. That aspect of it was not for me. I didn't really like that. It just kind of felt very incestuous, and I don't know, I just don't like that. Read the book and form your own opinion, but that is mine. As far as the spice goes, though, I would say, I mean, the name of the book is Dirty Love. Like, do I really even need to get into the spice? The answer is in the title. You know what? I will say, when I compare this book to, because I feel like this is supposed to be kind of a dark romance as well, I would say the main character who was kind of meant to possess those traits of like dark MC is, as far as like being intimidating and being protective and, you know, just kind of being that character who doesn't take shit from anybody, will take things to the extreme if necessary. I feel like if I had to compare this book to Hollow by M.L. Burns, I feel like the way that this character was written, the way they were meant to come off, that is how they came off to me when I read the book. Versus, you know, when I read Hollow, I feel like that is a dark romance, and I feel like, you know, one of the MCs were kind of meant to come off that way as well, but certain aspects of it just fell flat for me. And it's kind of hard to explain if you don't read the book, or if you don't read both books. I just feel like the author in this book specifically did a great job of portraying that character, or making that character come off most likely intended for them to come off to the reader. I'm not gonna lie, I did enjoy some of the toxic aspects of the book. I'm not gonna lie, I, you know, kind of enjoyed the whole possessiveness and just, I'm gonna insert myself, ruin whatever it is that you got going on because you can't be with me, you can't be with nobody else. I actually kind of enjoyed that aspect of the book. I'm not really sure why. Maybe that says a lot about me, but we're not gonna look too close into that. That doesn't matter. But like I said, my overall rating for this book is a 3 out of 5. Definitely read the book and form your own opinion. I would say this was a pretty good book. The characters were enjoyable. The book was easy to read. The plot and the storyline was very easy to follow. There was nothing that really kind of like deviated from that and made it confusing. I'm not gonna say that I highly recommend it, but if you like the whole stepbrothers to lovers, then I would say this is one book to think about maybe reading, because it definitely falls within that trope category. Honestly, I can't believe we're already at the last book recommendation. I don't think I've read many books in this trope, so I'm not surprised, depending on what the video is about, if I've read a ton of books that fall in that category, then I would just probably do a part 1 and 2. I don't know, I wouldn't classify myself as a professional book reviewer. I am just a ranter, somebody who enjoys reading books and has a lot to say and has a lot of opinions. With that being said, let me stop ranting and let's get into the final book recommendation in this video. That final book is Barred Desires by Ashley James. Now, this book is a part of a book series. There are 3 books in the series, and each book follows 2 different characters. One of the books in this series is one of my absolute favorite romance novels. Next to detective romance, I also love a best friends to lovers trope. And one of the books in this series features that specific trope. Book is a 5-star read if it stays with you and you're thinking about it weeks, months, maybe even years after you've read it. This specific book is like that for me. I don't know why I love this book so much. I think about the characters often. If I'm reading another book and anything happens, or any of the characters in the current book that I'm reading have certain characteristics that mimic the characters from that specific book, I immediately think of either character or sometimes even both characters. But that's not the book we're talking about. So back on track, my final book recommendation is Bar Desires by Ashley James. This book follows two stepbrothers. One is a little bit older than the other, and those feelings or that aha moment doesn't happen until they are in close proximity with each other, with the exclusion of their parents. Once the other brother graduates high school and is starting college, they all end up living together in an apartment with some other friends as well. And that is kind of how those feelings begin to manifest itself. I would say for one character more so than the other at first. Nonetheless, both characters kind of end up feeling the same way about each other and they end up together. Now, I don't know if this is something that I loved about the book, but when it comes to this series, there's something that I noticed the author will do. First, I want to say that I don't really like books that are kind of like you're in a relationship with someone and you end up cheating on your partner with someone else because you have no self-restraint and you couldn't just break up with your current partner before cheating on them. I don't know if that's a trope, if it's a cheating trope, I don't know. But 2 out of the 3 books, something I've noticed that the author will do, it's like she will make the girlfriend of the character of one of the MCs so unlikable and so unbearable that you kind of hope he cheats on the girlfriend. Like, you just kind of give him a pass. Like, this girl is so annoying. It's okay if you don't want to be with her, just leave her and go be with your stepbrother, go be with your best friend. Like, the girlfriend is just so annoying. And I don't condone cheating, but the author definitely made cheating bearable. So that's something that I loved. I feel like the author kind of made that aspect of the book easy to digest, especially for me, because that's not something that I necessarily like in a book. If you just got out of a relationship, if you are recently divorced, like you met the love of your life the same day you signed the divorce papers, that's okay with me. But I do not like cheating in books. This is one of the books that I read when I first started reading romance novels. Before, I was reading only MF novels, and when I ventured into romance, this is probably like one of the first 10 novels that I've read. Something that didn't quite work for me, there wasn't closure. Like, I feel like there wasn't enough closure, and I kind of debated if that is like a bad thing or if that is just kind of realistic in a sense, because I feel like in real life, there isn't always going to be closure and not everyone is going to be held accountable for the horrible things that they've done to you, at least, not in this lifetime. Who knows what'll happen on the other side, but I don't know. I kind of wanted closure, and I don't want to give too much away, when it comes to what it is that I wanted closure about. But, one of the main characters went through a very traumatic thing. Just kind of wanted closure on that. By the end of the book, I didn't get that. I feel like it's kind of up in the air. There isn't always closure. Had the book been a little bit longer, we probably would have gotten the answers to some of those questions, if that is something that the author wanted to incorporate in the book. That's the only thing I didn't like. My favorite relationship dynamic was how protective one character was over the other, especially like in the midst of them dealing with this trauma that happened to them as a child, kind of resurfacing and manifesting itself in different ways throughout his life currently, even though he's like probably 10 years removed from the situation. That trauma still lives within you and can manifest itself in different ways. And that's where like the annoyance and a little bit of hate, I want to say, came in for the character's girlfriend, because she was doing a lot. This book also kind of addressed dynamics, specifically when it comes to like women doing things to men, whereas if the roles were reversed, that would be an issue. Given that a woman is doing it to a man, it doesn't hold as much weight. So I thought it was interesting to see, his girlfriend be called out for that type of behavior, just not listening to him when he's like, no, I don't want to do that. And you just keep going and you're not listening to me saying no. Like I said, the author did a great job of making you hate the girlfriend to the point where it was like, please break up with this girl or cheat on her. I don't know. Either one. Either you're going to break up with her or you're going to cheat on her and she's going to leave you anyway. I don't know. Something needs to happen. You need to get rid of this girl ASAP. Like, she is so annoying. I would say my overall rating for this book is a 4 out of 5. I found myself coming back to this book. While this isn't a highly recommend, I do still think it is, worth your time. If you love Ashley James, if you love the whole stepbrother to lovers trope, college romance, queer awakening, then I would say this book is definitely worth a read. Okay, bookworms, that is all I had for this video. Please feel free to drop down in the comments and let me know what you guys think. Have you read any of these books? Do you plan to read any of these books? Did any of these books pique your interest? And also drop down in the comments and recommend some books of your own that fall within this specific trope that you think I might like. And also, if you haven't seen any of my other videos, please feel free to check those out as well and drop down in the comments and let me know what you think. Recommend some books of your own that fall within that specific book genre or book trope. I'm definitely interested to hear from you guys. If you would like to join the Book Hangover Club, please feel free to subscribe. Click the notification bell so that you are privy to when I post my next video, and I will catch you guys in the next one.